Okay, so today we're going to be spending some time looking at artist statements. An artist statement is a statement made by an artist about their work. It helps us, the viewer, to know more about who the artist is and what their process was and what they were thinking. So let's dig in.
Okay, so before we get deep into artist statements, let's just do a quick reminder that our Home is 2021 Jury Student Art Exhibition will be on view here at the Stark Museum of Art, March 16th through May 15th of 2021. It'll also be available online in a digital format. So why write an artist statement? Well, an artist statement is your chance to tell the jurors about your artwork. Oftentimes, I find when looking at a work of art, I would love to know what the artist was thinking while they were making it. This is your chance to do that. Now, artist statement is an easy way for you to earn extra points in our jurying process too. If you haven't checked out our video on our jurying process, it explains how all the points are given to a work of art. So be sure to take a look at that. And lastly, it's important for all artists to be able to talk about their creations, to think about how they made it, how they made the decisions that they made it, and what they might be able to do differently in the future. Now, we've made the artist statement as easy as possible for you. Each registration form that you'll complete for your exhibition entry will have this artist statement with it. So let's take a look at what these questions are. We're going to ask you to put on your name, your grade. We want you to title your work. We want to know what the name of your work is going to be. The medium is going to be what you made your artwork with. So if you use pencil or colored pencil or markers, you're going to put that kind of detail on there. One of my favorite questions that we ask in our artist statement is if this work of art had a hashtag, what would it be? Now, we know that you can do better than hashtag art or hashtag cool. We want you to tell the viewer about something in your artwork with your hashtag. It can be funny, it can be serious, but you want to make sure you're drawing their attention in and using that hashtag to help them look more closely. This year, we're asking how you choose to depict the word home in your artwork. If you joined us for our theme video, you know there are many different ways that we can define and consider home in our artwork. So this will be your chance to help the jurors see how you made that decision and what your goal was. We want to know how you made it, what technique you might have used, or maybe did you learn a new technique for this project? We want to know what you want people to feel or think when they see your work of art. Do you want them to be in awe of the amazing ability that you have? Do you want them to connect deeply to that sense of home that you shared? Then we're going to ask you to tell us a little bit more about your making process. What was the hardest part of making a work of art? Was there an area that gave you trouble? Was there a technique you really struggled with? And what was your favorite part of making the work of art? Where did you really find yourself enjoying this work the most? Now, to help us get a better sense of how to really complete these, I pulled a work from our collection for us to look at and to imagine, based on some of the typical answers we can get from a juried student artist statement, what that might look like. This work is by Julian Onderdonk. It's called Late Afternoon in the Bluebonnets. Now we're going to imagine that Julian is a high school senior here in Orange County, Texas, filling this out. So let's take a look at what he puts on his form. Well, the first thing I notice is that he has skipped the title. He's chosen not to title it, and he's not even chosen to put in untitled. Now, he did tell us what the medium was. He told us that he used paint, but I bet he could have done a better job and told us what type of paint he used. He might have even told us what he painted on. His hashtag is hashtag painting, so it does describe the work of art, but I think it's pretty obvious this was as a painting. So I wonder what other hashtags he could have used. Any ideas? Now, how did you depict the word home in your artwork? Well, Mr. Onderdonk skipped that question. He did tell us that he's painted it, but he didn't give us any techniques. I noticed there's a lot of thick impasto application of paint, so that's an opportunity he kind of missed here. He tells us he wants us to see flowers, but he doesn't tell me what he wants me to think or feel. The hardest part of making this work of art was painting it, and his favorite part was finishing it. Now, I want you to take a step back. I'm going to give you a quick training session on how our jurors score artist statements. Our jurors use a 0 to 4 scale to score on our juried art program. When they look at artist statements, here's what we consider. A score of 0 means that the artist has limited ability. It means they've provided a title and briefly answered some questions. Well, did our artist do that? For a 1, the artist has provided a title, medium, and briefly answered most questions. For a 2, they're an average ability. They've provided titles, mediums, and briefly answered all questions. For a 3, an above average skill, the artist provides a title, medium, and thoughtfully answers most questions. And for a 4, an exceptional score, the artist must provide all required information and thoroughly and thoughtfully answer all questions. So let's compare Mr. Onderdonk's first attempt with maybe a second attempt. So on the second attempt, here he's used his title, Late Afternoon in the Bluebonnets. So already he's working his way up to get some more points. He's told us what type of paint as well as what he's painted on. Here he's described his work with his hashtag. So he's told us it's bluebonnets. He answers the question about how he depicted the word home, telling us that bluebonnets are the state flower, and that reminds him of how much he loves living in Texas. When talking about techniques, he's gone into detail. He's used some of the technical terms that he's been working on. He worked on realism. He used a vanishing perspective, and then talked a little bit about how he applied that paint, a much more thorough answer. When talking about how he wants people to feel or think when looking at his artwork, 1, he's actually answered this question this time. So he didn't tell us what he wanted them to see. He told us what he wanted them to feel. Seeing them and feeling, those can sometimes be kind of mixed up a little bit in these statements. So make sure you think about that. The artist tells us the hardest part was not putting too many bluebonnets on the canvas. So it sounds like Mr. Onderdonk really loves his bluebonnets, and then talks about using that perspective. He hadn't worked with that before, so he enjoyed the challenge. Now think back to that scale we talked about just a little bit ago. I'm going to do a quick review. 0 is limited, 1 is emerging, 2 is average, 3 is above average, and 4 is exceptional. Let's score the first statement Mr. Onderdonk did. If I'm generous, I think we could give it a 1. What about the second statement? I think it could be a 3 or a 4, depending on how we consider it. Now, what I will say with this is that Mr. Onderdonk is supposed to be a senior in high school. I think he could do just a little bit better than this and fill out all of those lines completely for me. Now, I hate to share this because it's one of the saddest parts each year of our exhibition, but a word to the wise. Every year we have great student submissions that do not make our exhibition because the student artist does not complete their artist statement. This is such an easy part and such a great way for you to think about the work that you've made and learn about it. So please, please, please make sure you complete those artist statements. Now, some tips as you think about your artist statement and how you make sure you're doing that. 1, I'm going to encourage you to take notes on your work in your sketchbook as you work on it and you document your process. This is going to help you when you review these statements. You're going to have a lot more detail to look back on when you're writing your statement. Those notes can be really, really, really helpful. Make sure that you answer every question on the artist statement worksheet. This is easy, guys. Make sure you go through. You've got 10 to 12 questions. Complete those out for us. Try to write in full sentences, and of course appropriate to your grade level, but let's make sure that you're really being thoughtful and addressing these and really doing a great job. Now, I love to ask a friend or a teacher to proofread. There's always something I miss, so that fresh set of eyes can really help you make sure you're clearly communicating. And then the last piece is make sure if you're handwriting these that you write neatly so your jurors can read your statement, okay?
Thanks for spending some time with me today to look at artist statements. I hope this has helped you as you get ready to finish that statement and submit your entry for this year's Juried Student Art Exhibition. Remember, February 3rd, 2021 at 5 p.m. is the deadline for this year's entries. Can't wait to see what you make.